Hello. We are going to dive into our Warrior Goddess training. We are in lesson number 3. Lesson 3 is Purify Your Vessel. Now, if this is your first time seeing this video and you're like, Warrior Goddess training, what? What is this chick talking about? I'm going to have in the description the links to the introduction and the previous lessons. So I really encourage you to maybe go back and start at the introduction, do lesson 1 and lesson 2, and then join us back here with lesson 3, Purify Your Vessel. So also in the description, I'm going to have a link to Heather Ash Amare, the author of Warrior Goddess Training, and the link to where you can get your book. It is one of those that you will go back to time and time again. So without any other hesitation, let's jump in to lesson number 3, Purify Your Vessel. The quote at the beginning of the lesson: the thing that is really hard and really amazing is giving up on being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself. And that is Anna Quindlen, I want to say. Giving up on being perfect. So, do you still try to be perfect in like this image of like what you think perfection is supposed to look like? Just a question. So the first couple of lessons in the Warrior Goddess is committing to ourselves and aligning with life. For these two to work efficiently, then we must also purify our vessel. And so the vessel, as defined by Heather Ash, is a sacred container of awareness that holds all of you. I'm going to repeat that. Your vessel is a sacred container of awareness that holds all of you. Your mind, your energy, your emotions, and your physical body. So we have the 4 bodies: the mind, energy, emotion, and physical. Your vessel houses your spirit, and your spirit cannot fully express if your vessel is burdened by things that don't serve you. And so that could look like holding on to old identities, when maybe it's time to let things go. She says here, specifically, this means that we must become aware of and consciously clear out all the beliefs, stories, fears, and general junk that is clogging up our system. This takes rolling up our warrior sleeves and getting to work, while we also open to divine goddess grace and inspiration. So the first step in purifying all aspects of self is to learn to be in a relationship with ourselves in a new way by creating this vessel, an imaginary container that keeps us inner focused and prevents us from becoming hooked into the multitude of opinions and stories that are constantly competing for our attention throughout the day. So these could be messages from television, news, commercials, movies, or even just shows that you're watching. It can be from relatives or teachers or friends, acquaintances, all of which can trigger the familiar self-sabotage voice of self-judgment and self-doubt. So when you create this strong container of self-awareness around yourself, then you stop leaking your inner power through self-criticism, self-judgment, self-comparison, self-doubt. So, I've got a note here. The container holds all of us, even the parts that we don't like. So imagine, she says here, imagine a container that holds you tenderly and securely. This lovingly container embraces you and clearly defines the boundary of what is yours and what belongs to others. And that's the important part of boundaries and of creating this container. That's the important part of awareness. And awareness means that we witness and we do it without judgment. So that's really the key point that I want to bring in here, is that awareness isn't meant to say like, oh, I'm aware of this wrinkle here. I can't believe I have a wrinkle. I need to do something about this. Awareness is, I have a wrinkle. Look at this wrinkle. This is here. This is a wrinkle of wisdom. This is a wrinkle of my smile lines. This is just a wrinkle. It's 50 years or 40 years. It's a wrinkle. That is all it is. So like being aware of what's there without the judgment, without beating yourself up. It's a couple of years ago, I was helping my daughter and my son-in-law, her husband, while she was having surgery and he was taking care of her. I was taking care of the children. And so during, a few months there, I wasn't doing all of my typical daily activities. I wasn't exactly eating my typical way. I wasn't getting all of my activities in. And so weight came on. I gained a little bit of weight. And I was aware of the weight. I was also aware that I was in a season of circumstances. And I was doing the best I could during that time. And that I knew that this was going to end. And when it ended, that I would then be able to pick up my diet and come back to my activities, and that I would get healthier again. But for right now, I'm simply surviving and doing my best. I think about another book by Heather Ash where she talks about the river as a life. And so in that moment, I just kind of had my head down and I was just paddling through, getting through the river, the rapids, waiting for the calm water again. And so being aware is, again, it's not about judging yourself. It's just about the witnessing. This is what's here, without the judgment. Just just want to see if there was something I was missing on that page. So on page number 29, right in the middle, she says here, yes, you can learn to hold yourself. Yes, you can learn to trust your judgment and intuitions. Yes, you can learn to nourish yourself. It requires transforming old beliefs, old patterns of being. It's making conscious choices. You're making choices every single day, every single moment, but it is now becoming aware of your choices and making conscious choices. So she lists some things that you can do to build a steady container. And I'm not going to list all of them, but I'll just pop out a few of them. 1, stop defining yourself by what you do or who you know. Embrace all of you. Honor your strengths. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge your weaknesses. Honor your strengths. You know, sometimes we really just focus in on our weaknesses and we negate to recognize that we have some very powerful and beautiful strengths. And this is a favorite one of mine. Know your truth in this moment. Hold to your truth even in the face of adversity. So I got to practice this recently with having a conversation with someone, and politics was brought up. And we are not on the same belief system politically or religiously. And actually both got brought into this conversation. And this is a person I love and I respect. And in the past, I have kept myself silent and small when these conversations would come up with this person. But recently, I took a big breath in and I spoke my truth. And I did so with integrity and without hurting the sweet person that I was discussing it with. Neither of us felt as though neither of us took anything personally. We accepted what each other said and ended that conversation and moved into something a bit easier to discuss. So it's knowing your truth and honoring that truth in the hard times. And then this one is probably, there's 2 here that I think are vital, very vital. Consciously choose your friends and your support system. Consciously choose your friends and your support system. You're going to have acquaintances that you may do things with, and then you may have friends who you're able to have discussions with. Know the difference and be aware of the friends or the acquaintances who is there as a part of your journey to who you are wanting to become or who you're trying to awaken into. The other part of this is let go of the need for people to like you. Knowing your truth, honoring who you are, setting boundaries is going to ruffle feathers of the people who do not understand. And when you let go of people-pleasing strategies, or doing the status quo, and you're just honoring who you are, other people's opinions don't weigh so heavily anymore. Clear out buried emotions. That's an important one. Claim loving acceptance of your physical body. Even if you feel as though your physical body needs to change for health reasons, love it as it is today. Honor it, accept it as it is right here, right now, even if you feel as though there needs to be a change. Be mindful of what substances you put into your body. And I take this to a whole other level. It is not just what I put into my body or on my body. It is what I allow my body to be interacted with. And so that means what movies or TV shows may I watch? What music do I listen to? I am very aware and consciously choosing what is penetrating my skin, my ears, my eyes, my heart, and my belly. Yeah, in my belly. So being very aware, mindful of what you are subjecting yourself to on all levels. And then I have a note here, and I'm not sure where this note came from. Sometimes these come from my thought process, and sometimes it comes from working this with several other people, and including Heather Ash, and making notes. I've been doing this book since 2017, so the notes are just here. But I love this. To clean your vessel, let go of the parts no longer serving you. They may have been needed in the past to survive. They are no longer needed to thrive. And there is a difference in surviving and thriving. So going into page 30 and 31, it goes into talking about the sacred full being cleaning. And so what that means is we're coming back to those four bodies: the mental body, the energy body, the emotional body, and the physical body. And we're going to ask questions about them. So notice the chatter that fills your mind. What are the themes that you hear most in your head? Now, to hear what's going on in here, you've got to quieten down your environment and your space. So that means we turn off the background noise and we stop distracting, and we listen to what we're saying without judgment. So we just pause and we listen, and we may not like what we're hearing, and it may be the very first time you've heard what you're saying to yourself. But I invite you to do that. No judgment. We're just listening to what's being said. She asks here, how often do you overreact in situations? Remembering that a reaction can be internal or external. So that can be when something happens outside of our realm of control, and we react or we respond maybe in an unhealthy way. So just noticing how your reaction is to things, and it can be, negative things or not negative things. How much openness do you have emotionally? So are you able to release emotions cleanly and fully? Are you able to feel an emotion when it comes and allow it to express and allow it to go? Or do you feel an emotion and then you dive into that emotion? This is what I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling this. And then begin to create a story around that emotion, and then you just sink into it and live in that emotion? Do you love and respect your physical body, or do you mentally judge your physical form? How do you feel about your weight? Are you accepting of your body? Do you feel at peace or judgmental about your age? So if you have the book, I invite you to look at page 31. There is a chart here. It's called an overview of self. And we're thinking of percentages in like mental of a 100%. Do you have peace and clarity, or do you have chatter and confusion? And you would separate that out, like maybe 50% peace and 50% chatter and confusion, or maybe it's 75-25 or 90-10, throwing out some of my old numbers. And then we are going to do the same thing with our energy body. Do we feel bright and full, or do we feel dim and contracted? And then we're going to talk about our emotional body. Are we open and fluid, or are we stagnant and being triggered? And the physical body, are we accepting and loving, or do we reject and judge our body? Now again, this overview is a non-judgmental way of looking at ourselves. It is just becoming aware of what is and knowing that this is going to change. This could change in a moment. This can change with a text message from someone or a phone call from someone. This can change in a flash. So it is really just being aware of where you are right here, right now, and in this moment. On the next page, page 30, 2 pages over, page 33, she asks you to do this same practice again, but think about yourself 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. Are you able to see a transformation from years past to where you are now? Are you able to see that growth? But also being aware, I love my butts here, that as you are on this journey, this path, that you can always kind of fall back. So when my life was a little chaotic, taking care of the young boys, I didn't have so much clarity and peace. I had a lot more chatter and confusion going on. So just remembering that this is where we're at in here in this moment when we're looking at this, and being forgiving, humble, grace, giving ourselves grace of when we find ourselves stuck and stagnant again. And when we can identify 30, 20, 15, 10, 5 years ago, how we've grown and changed in that time frame, then that helps us be aware that where we're at today is not forever. We're going to grow out of this as well. kind of reading my notes here. You can tell this is spring has sprung and my allergies are allergerian. They're getting me. I have a little meditation wrote in here, or maybe a little visionary I would like to share with you. So imagine you come across a rundown temple. It's been neglected for years, decades. A lot of garbage is inside. Some walls are falling down. You can see that it has potential. You can see that it had beauty in its beginning, in its being. If it had some love, care, nurturing, it could be brought back to its original brilliance. Can you see that? Imagine you're excited about this temple. And the work that goes into it will serve a lot of people. That is the same energy I want you to bring to you, to your vessel. You are that beautiful temple. You have been neglecting yourself for years, maybe decades. And now it's time to clean it up. This is a beautiful lesson, and it's quite long for this book. It's not a long lesson, but it is for this book. The next section that it talks about is judge and victim. And I have a little running joke around my world here. I don't have mirrors in my home. I've got one that's placed up a little high, too high for me to see into. That just gives the room light and definition. And then I have one in my bedroom, but it stays kind of covered with scarves and draperies. And I get dressed based on how I feel and what I feel in what I'm wearing, instead of looking at what I look like, because I have judge and victim here who sometimes isn't so forgiving, right? And so instead of letting judge and victim dictate to me what I'm wearing today or anytime, then I allow it to go with a sense of feeling. I feel good in this, and therefore I'm going to wear it, even if it doesn't match. Even if it doesn't match. I remember a few years ago, about the time I started this book, it was probably 2018. I walked in to work one day, and one of the ladies there, who has been a dear friend of mine for decades, she just looked at me and shook her head, and she said, "So you're not even trying to match anymore?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she just like, okay, and I felt great in what I was wearing, and I still felt great even after her judge tried to make me feel bad. Yeah. So we want to recognize and be aware of those voices that we have called judge and victim. Your inner judge or critic is constantly looking for what you or others are not doing right. Your judge doesn't have just high standards, it has impossible standards. Nothing you do is right. But then you have the victim as well. The I can't do it, I'm not enough part of you is always looking to the judge for validation, and which it never gets. The victim is always seeking out a judge, whether internally or externally, to prove its unworthiness. When you listen to the victim's voice as voice of truth, you spend your days feeling powerless and without hope. So how can you take clear warrior action when your victim whines in the corner? Go from viewing yourself as broken, misused, misunderstood, not lovable, not good enough woman to feeling yourself as a magnificent temple, a vessel of divine feminine that needs a thorough, sacred remodeling from the inside out. Remember that it is your judge that tracks the most mud into your sacred temple. And there's a note here, and I'm on page 34. Remember, no, I just said that part, this part. There is a difference between judgment and discernment. When we judge others or ourselves, we create more mess. When we are discerning, there is no emotional or energetic charge in our being. It is simply a choice. This is a big difference in the energy. If there is blame or rejection, then that is judgment. If there is compassion and clarity, then that is discernment. So what I've found on my journey has been when I can identify and say, I don't want to go and do this with this group. That doesn't feel good inside of me. Again, that's going back to consciously choosing your friends and your support system. And so I no longer want to interact with this person or these people because it doesn't feel good. And that is a discernment. That is not a judge. It's not being mean. It's just saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. Her example here is a judgment would be, I hate my body. I wish it was different. Discernment is like, I feel sluggish. I've not been eating well. I feel like I should lose 10 pounds and get in better shape. I think my body would feel better if I did. So you can love your body as it is and identify it needs to change. And that's discernment and not judgment. Judgment is the I hate my body. I can't believe my pants don't fit anymore. You know, there's a difference there. So I invite you to be aware. Judgment leaves you feeling negative, heavy, and discernment leaves no trace. Yeah. So we're going to jump over here on page 36. We've got some purifying exercises and clear your mind. So as we're purifying our vessel, it helps to break down into bite-sized pieces. Below is a guide to purifying actions. And she's separated these into the different bodies, okay? So we've got the mental body, the energy body, the emotional body, and the physical body. So to clear the mind, it would be to meditate. And I would say meditating for, 3 to 5 minutes when you begin. You might build that up. What meditation looks like is I'm going to put all of my awareness and my concentration on this one thing. That may be a candle, a crystal, a rock, a tree, a flower, a mirror, and you're gazing at yourself. It could be your breath. It could be a photo. So anything where you can take stillness for just a few minutes and then become to witness the busyness of your mind. Your mind may begin to have chatters, and then you can witness what you're saying to yourself. Another practice is, she says here, is to make a commitment to stop judging yourself. Keeping your awareness strong. Imagine that the judge is tracking the mud into your temple and send it outside. And know that you may have to do this 100 times a day, but be diligent and don't feed the judge. Speaking your truth without judgment. Telling your truth without judgment. So if you notice yourself telling a lie or a partial lie, go back and clean it up. And it can be very awkward, but it's a great practice to do. When we tell ourselves the truth about what we want or we do not want in our lives, we can cut out a lot of the chatter. When we are willing to speak truth to others without rejecting ourselves. So stop listening to the same old recordings in your head. Hit the erase button and record a new positive statement to focus on. And then she's got some exercises into channeling your energy and clearing your energy. That may look like let me read this here. So she's got another meditation listed here. Practice containing your energy. I think that's the one I want to focus in on. When we are not aware, our energy can be affected by other people's attitudes and opinions. If you are sensitive to other people's energetic or emotional states, you can learn to protect your energetic field. Energy follows imagination. So your best tool is your imagination. She says, I like to imagine myself wearing a beautiful cloak that filters out the harmful energy but lets loving energy pass through. I like to talk about Swiss cheese. To imagine yourself as Swiss cheese. And all the little holes. That's for all the judgment, the other people's opinions to just filter through. They're just flying right through you. They can't stick. But the love, the kindness, light, that's sticking to the solid parts of the cheese. To check in with your emotional state, I've got a note here. Do you allow yourself to feel and not attach a story to it? So she says, take a few minutes each day, whether you feel like it or not, to move through some emotions. You can also do this by dancing vigorously and yelling. Use your voice. Scream, cry, growl. Let your emotions move. I am so much a supporter of move your body and allow it to get out. Because when we feel something happens, it startles us, it traps us, or it triggers us. We have an emotional startling, or a trauma happens, and we're jolted, and we freeze, and we hold our breath, and we tighten up, and we're creating these emotional blockages in our body that come into, eventually they become pain, muscle knots, tension, irritable bowel syndrome, all of these different body ailments that come from being stuck, constipation. And so by moving our body, whether if it's dancing or yoga or shaking, running, hiking, moving the body moves that stuckness out. And so what I have found in my hiking journeys, that a lot of times I'll cry because things will move out. Sometimes I'm just giggling and laughing because we hold in good stuff too. We don't just hold and trap the bad emotions. Sometimes we don't feel safe letting out the good ones. And so those get stuck as well. She also gives a really good advice about finding a movie that touches the specific emotion that you feel like you're needing to work through. And so a couple of my favorite movies that I like to work with is You Got Mail and Phantom of the Opera. Both of those are very emotional, triggering. A TV show, Gilmore Girls, ignites some stuff within me. I would love to hear what movies move you, if you would like to share that. And then she goes into work it out. This is your physical body. And again, I went into some of that with hiking and yoga and dancing and shaking. But you cannot purify your vessel without being aware of the body-mind connection. So she says, I invite you to practice radical acceptance of your body and all of its features, even the ones that you think that you don't like. Be aware of what you put into your body. They have effects on you. Everyone is different based on metabolism and age. There is no one approach fits all solution. The following exercises that she lists will help you connect to different sacred uniquenesses in the needs of your body. So she talks about, again, exercising. Don't judge yourself, your body, based on someone else's body. My daughter's 30 years old now, and she outgrew me height-wise at like age 9. So, I don't know how tall she is, like 5'9" or something. Huge, so tall. And I remember in some of her younger teenage, young adult years, her making a statement about my weight and her weight being so significantly different. I'm like, girl, You are a foot taller than me. We're going to weigh different. Our bodies are not made the same. And so she used to judge herself based off my body. And I guess I really gotten, I don't know if I always noticed it. I think I did, because I always would try to correct her even before I started this journey. But when I really got onto this journey, I saw it with so much more compassion. And I used to look at other people, other women, and I would see like those really tall, skinny women, and like, wow, they're so thin and beautiful. And I didn't see that in myself because I'm short and I'm muscular. And for a long time, I thought that I was overweight because I weighed, my BMI is more than what I should be for my height. But I have so much muscle that of course it's going to be. But I beat myself up over what the world told me I was supposed to look like. And so, yeah, I don't look outside of what someone else looks like to define what I'm supposed to be. I've got this one lady friend. We've also been friends for decades. We are the same height. We have the same body frame, but we have two different lifestyles. So I'm muscular and she's not. And so she's very thin, very thin, and you can see her bones protruding. And I remember judging myself against her for a long time. Like, why? Like, we're the same, but like I weigh so much more than her, and I mean, I'm so much bigger. I didn't have a healthy understanding of my body to be aware that we were different. So I invite you to step into this awareness without that judgment, without that victim, and just start to become aware of you. She also mentions in here, and I feel like it's very important to bring in, be aware, be mindful of how your body feels when it eats foods. All of them. How it feels when you Netflix and chill versus going for a walk. That awareness will help you to begin to make more of a conscious choice moving forward. Because again, we're still making choices. We're just doing so without putting a lot of thought into it sometimes. Purifying your vessel is not a solo job. It is one that is best supported by community, friends, and good guides. When you find people who can hold unconditional love and acceptance for where you are now, while encouraging you in your goals and dreams, you will feel inspired and motivated to stretch and grow. Beautiful. Some of the notes that I've got for myself at the end of this chapter, this lesson, was stop referring to yourself as broken or damaged. I would define myself as broken, a broken person, or damaged because of what had happened to me in my past. So if you are doing that, I invite you to change that as well. That was a huge shift from surviving into thriving. So I went from being, I am a victim of childhood sexual abuse. I am a victim of childhood neglect. I am a victim of rape. To then I was saying I'm a survivor of these things. But I still define myself, I am broken, I am damaged, I am a survivor of rape, I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, I am a survivor. But I still felt that, I still defined myself in that damaged and broken. And now I move beyond that into the thriving world of a warrior goddess, of the fairy goddess that I claim. Listen to how you talk to yourself and what the world around you is saying. For me, that was when I gave up mainstream television and music. I don't want to hear music that is telling me that I should think bad of myself or watch television, movies. I'm just not gonna do it. I became very aware of how I felt. And as I've watched some stuff in the past few years, I've giggled at some of the messages that I've heard trying to come across because they don't penetrate my vessel anymore. When you have a problem, do you call a friend who will play into the victimhood, or do you call a friend who will say, breathe, sit with it, I hear you, I see you, sit. That's a big difference. Big difference. Thank you for joining me for this lesson 3, Purifying Your Vessel. We will be coming back in next week with lesson 4, Ground Your Being and Free Your Past. I'm very excited that you've chose to be on this journey with me. Again, if you are watching this one for the first time, you don't know what this warrior goddess is, go to the description. You're going to find links to the book, to Heather Ash Amare's page, where you can find all of her other offerings and fabulous books, as well as the links to the previous videos of this book club discussion. And I would love to hear from you and how you feel about what you've experienced here today. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.